What's going on, guys? My name is Triforce Diction. Welcome back to another COD mode video. So the Season 5 test server brought in some patch notes. So yes, obviously with every test server, we do tend to get, I guess, somewhat of like an early version of patch notes, basically telling us what's going to be buffed and what's going to be nerfed for the next season. So to be honest with you guys, I kind of forgot that they were supposed to give out the patch notes, but I don't really know how long it really takes. They probably have to go through like each weapon individually to see like what really changed. And I do have the test server with me, so maybe the changes are actually there and I could probably test it out on my own. But yeah, it probably takes some time nonetheless. So I do have to admit, upon looking at these patch notes, it's actually kind of basic. I mean, most of it's not really anything crazy. Most of it's just really just range buffs for certain weapons like the COD or the AK-117. Of course, there are like maybe like one or two surprising changes for weapons that probably needed it the most. But I'll admit, like, this patch notes isn't really that like crazy. But just to give you a hint on what's to come, the Kilo might be coming back to the meta even harder than it ever has before. I'll just say that. But just because that one gun's getting buffed to holy hell, it doesn't actually mean that, the other weapons that are getting buffed this season are not going to have a chance in the spotlight. And yeah, it's going to be a surprise once I reveal these patch notes to you. So for the first change, we do have the AK-117. They improved the damage profile on, I believe, the first two ranges, which is 25, 23, and they improved it from 25 to 24. Basically meaning that within like maybe the second range, you're going to be able to do a 4-shot kill, which might not sound like a lie. It only goes up to like really like, I think 23 meters. So again, it's nothing really crazy. I don't really see this being like part of the meta. So the next change actually involves the BK-57 once more. So they improved the damage profile from 27, 22, 19 to 31, 27, 22, 19, basically adding a new version of the first range. So this one is going to be at from 0 to 7 meters. That's where you're going to get that 31 damage value, but up until that point, you're just going to go back to just what it usually is right now currently in this game. So this change was kind of baffling to me because not only that the damage gets increased from the first range, well, I guess the new range is, I guess, replaced. But if you do use the alternative mag, the 7.62, it does go up to 33, but it's still not enough to get a 4-shot kill to like anywhere in the body, which is actually a good thing because, yeah, that would be pretty overpowered. But it does increase the headshot up to like the 40s, but again, it doesn't really matter too much, I believe. And, having the damage increase from like to 31 just without using that mag, it does give you the ability to do a 3-shot to the head only up to like 7 meters. So again, I mean, it's not really much of a big change when you think about it. The change might affect you here and there, but I don't really see it being such a huge deal. And speaking of things that isn't a big deal, we have the FR556 improved damage profile from 26-19. So basically what this does is that it makes it like a 5-shot kill because it does add a new middle range, which makes it up to 20 damage. So within the second range, about like 26 meters and 33, you're going to be able to do a 5-shot kill. I didn't even know that you can do this, but I didn't know it really reduced that far to a 6-shot kill after finishing the 4-shot range. But I guess it's whatever. It's not really going to make too much of a difference. No one even uses the gun anyways. So now we have like I guess another pointless change because again, with the HBR up to 20 meters, it's going to be able to 4-shot. But after that, it goes down to a 5-shot. They're just only expanding the 5-shot range by about maybe like 7-8 meters at the very most. So it doesn't really make too much of a difference either way. I mean, yeah, I don't know. So now we have the Maddox. So the changes might actually be substantial because they did remove a range that was previously there. So now it only has 3 ranges. So maybe the 5-shot potential is going to be a little bit further now. So going up to like all the way 30 meters once you reach that 17-meter range. So I think that might actually be a pretty decent change, especially for a gun like that. As for the Echo Fire, this is something that I know a lot of people were pissed about when they first nerfed it, when the gun first came out. They increased the vertical recoil, which already had a lot of vertical recoil in the first place. But with this change, I'm not really sure by how much they decreased it. They didn't really specify like a percentage. But hopefully it's enough for it to actually be a little more usable. But at the same time, don't really expect it to be a laser within next season. I don't really think they're going to go that far. So now we move on to the Kilo 141. So this one, like I said, is going to be a major change because now you could basically 3-shot up to the chest. I don't really see why they had to do this, but basically now the kilo is probably at its strongest. I know that might be debatable given the fact that when it first released, the headshot damage was like 43. But even then, I mean, the headshot damage is still in the 40s, but maybe not to that level. But now the fact that you could shoot to the chest and get 3-shot kills, it is kind of crazy. Like I said, I would say it's probably worse than it was before. And I think the reason why they did this is probably because there's a legendary skin coming out for it anyways. But yeah, this is a pretty questionable change. I'm sure it's going to shake the meta a little bit. So as for the Pharaoh, we do have more range buffs, but for this one, it's not really that crazy. They only seem to increase by 1 meter in the first 2 ranges. And that's basically it. I mean, the Pharaoh is still pretty terrible. So yeah, this did nothing. So as for the Echo, they did improve the ADS spread from 160-174 to 140-174. So I'm assuming that it might make it a little bit easier to 1-tap and 2-tap from longer ranges, given that most of the shots could like land now. But yeah, this is something I'm going to have to take a look at because the Echo is kind of spotty nowadays. I mean, like sometimes it's really good, sometimes it's just really bad. But again, I'm just going to have to wait and see how this one's going to turn out. So the Shikam, again, another, I guess, useless range change. Basically just adding 1 meter to like the first 2 meters, and that's basically it. It's more or less the same thing. So now for the LMG, this is one of the weapons that received a pretty hefty change, more or less the same as, I guess, the Kilo, or I guess it acts more or less the same. The headshot damage multiplier is increased by a little bit, but I think before you were still able to 3-shot to the head, so I don't really think that matters too much. Maybe it might help with, like, you know, like damaging like based on where you're shooting. So mainly it might take like maybe 1 headshot or 2 headshots to get a 3-shot kill. So yeah, it's an improvement right there, but I don't know by how much. They also improved the chest damage multiplier from 1 times to 1.1 times, basically making it so that you could actually 3-shot to the chest now. So again, kind of like giving it the Kilo 1-for-1 treatment. So we also have some bullet spread changes from 23-11 to 21-11. So I'm not really sure by how much that increases or I guess that helps the bullet spread. You know, for me personally, the M4MG usually always hits pretty well. So I guess this is just a slight improvement overall, but yeah. So now we move on to the Hades. So this one is kind of like a given the fact that if you're going to be using the heartbeat sensor with the Hades, which is coming by around season 5, yeah, it's gonna they kind of have to make up for like the lost speed, because again, if you don't use the crossbar, the Hades is going to be a little bit slower. So I assume that's the reason why they had to increase the ADS time just a little bit. But they also improved the movement speed by 2%. So yeah, again, just more compensation for not being able to use the crossbar if you do use heartbeat sensor. So now we got pretty massive change for the PKM specifically. So they decreased the vertical recoil, and they also improved the damage range profile from 0-25, 25, 35, 35 plus to 0 to 15 meters, 15 to 25 meters, as well as 25, 35 meters, and 35 meters plus. So basically, they also I forgot to mention this, they also increased the damage values within the second range. So basically, I think you're going to be able to still 3-shot within the first 2 ranges anyways, because I mean, if they added that range in the middle, I mean, it's still 25 meters, so you're still going to be able to 3-shot within 25 meters. I don't know if this is like a typo, but yeah, it just kind of seems more or less the same as it was before, because again, you're adding the 15 to 25 thing in the middle, but I mean, before, if you're able to 3-shot from 25 meters, what difference does it really make, you know? So I'm not really sure what they did with this. I'm hoping that they kind of like messed up when it came to the typing, but yeah, it's kind of a weird change. It makes it kind of pointless. But at the same time, it did get a very helpful change, which was the vertical recoil. So I know a lot of people have some massive complaints about the recoil, and recently they have been buffing it like in the past seasons, but they only been buffing the ADS speed, which wasn't really the main problem. Of course, it was helpful for it to be a little bit faster, but the vertical recoil was the main issue with the PKM, and that's why not a lot of people wanted to use it. So now we move on to the final weapon change for multiplayer. They improved the ADS spread from 215, 105 to 180, 70. So this does kind of greatly increase the bullet spread for the striker, but you know, it's still a pretty unreliable shotgun. So I don't really know if this is going to make too much of a difference. I know you could add the retractable barrel to have more ADS bullet spread, but I don't know if this is going to be enough to make it really good. So they decreased the bullet charge duration from 30 seconds to 25 seconds. So again, a significant change compared to like last time as well, where they made it so that every kill decreases your duration. So yeah, like having the time get reduced even further. Yeah, this is going to be a pretty big nerf for the bullet charge. But I don't know if it's really going to influence people to not use it anymore. But I think it's just, a slight change nonetheless. For the Shadow Blade, they added a new effect. So basically, any damage that you take while the skill is active, the damage is going to be reduced by 30%, meaning that's going to take a lot more shots to take you down when you're in this state. So this might actually be very helpful. Of course, I mean, with Shadow Blade, I'm not sure if it decreases the duration as well, but having this, I mean, it does give you a little bit of a helping hand when you're trying to take down maybe multiple enemies at once. So now we got a nerf to the C4. So they decreased the maximum damage range from 180 to 170, decreased the minimum damage range from 50 to 40. So first off, I did not know it had minimum damage, given the fact that I seemed to like just die from the C4 like pretty much anywhere. But yeah, I guess, nerfs like this need to happen in certain modes, I guess. Maybe in Search and Destroy, but yeah, C4 has been nerfed. That's pretty cool, whatever. Let's move on to the Molotov. So decreased duration from 7 seconds to 6 seconds. So yes, a much needed change, but I think they could do a little bit better with the Molotov, given that it seems like it lasts way more than 7 to 6 seconds. Let's be honest. It feels like it almost lasts like an hour when someone throws it in a hardpoint game. So now we move on to the stim shot. Speed boost decreased from 30% to 20%. So yeah, this is a pretty massive change for the stim shot. And to be honest, I don't really think the stim shot should have ever had any, speed benefits. But of course, they got this stim shot for Modern Warfare, and that's basically what it did. I thought it just gave you a little bit more sprint time, but apparently it did boost your speed. I did look that up, but yeah. The stim shot is getting a slight movement nerf, but I don't really think it's going to be that noticeable, and it could probably still get people to power positions much faster in Search and Destroy. So now we finally have like I guess the final change for this video, which is the unit support. So the teammates' kills now increase charges by 30% instead of 20%. So I guess they're trying to entice players to use this perk a little bit more. And to be honest, I don't think I've ever like faced anyone that was using unit support and actually succeeding. So yeah, maybe I'm just not being observant enough, but I don't really see this still being a useful perk. I mean, they could have it increased by like 100%. I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference. Of course, this might vary. I mean, obviously, if you have like really good teammates that are just dominating, you're probably going to get this like every 2 seconds. So yeah, I mean, you never know. I mean, this thing could actually be a lot more useful than what I'm letting on. So anyways, let me know what you guys think about the patch notes. Of course, there are some pretty significant changes, but honestly, I didn't really like the fact that, the majority of these changes were just slight little range buffs. I mean, some of them were good. I mean, the PKM, I guess, was needed, even though it's still a 3-shot from 25 meters. But yeah, I felt like they could have done a little bit more with certain guns out there that still need some changes. But anyways, guys, stay safe out there, and I'll see you guys next time.